so we're going to be comparing and ordering decimals, fractions, and percent. So you started out doing models of fraction, decimals, and percent, and then learning how to convert them. So ordering them and comparing them we'll discuss, but let's look at a couple of word problems where they come up in real life, fraction, decimals, or percents, and you may have to convert them. So a recent online survey showed that 82% of youth most often connect to the internet at home. What fraction of youth in the survey most often connect to the internet from somewhere other than at home? So here we're not really converting, but we're being asked to think about if this percent do something, what percent doesn't. So what do you need to know about percent? You need to know that it's out of 100. So if you have 100% is the total amount of total people that they can do something, and 82% of them use internet at home, then you would borrow, and 18% would use the internet somewhere other than at home. So you're really just taking from the whole the portion to get the other portion. Now let's look at this one. It says about 1/100th of the students at Central Middle School were born outside of the United States. What percent is equivalent to 1/100th? So it's asking you to go from a decimal to a percent. So you need to do that. Think about that. How do you get from a decimal to a percent? Maybe Dr. Pepper. And come up with an answer for this, and your teacher will check it with you tomorrow. So let's talk about comparing fractions, decimals, percents. When you're comparing, you're really looking at two things. You're comparing, say, a fraction to a decimal, and we've looked at that. You're comparing a decimal to a percent. You're comparing a fraction to a percent. You're comparing, and backwards, decimal to fraction, decimal to percent, fraction to percent. And so you're choosing greater than, less than, or equal to. And so it's always two things. You're given two things to compare, and you're being asked, is it bigger, is it smaller? Is it greater, is it less? And then with ordering's a little different. It says, how does ordering differ from comparing? Ordering is where you have three or more comparisons. So you may have a fraction, a decimal, and a percent. And it'll say something like, put these in order from least to greatest, or put these in order from greatest to least, or looking at all of these, which one's the biggest. So you have to be able to put them all in the same format and then compare them or order them. So some of the strategies for comparing is to, instead of looking at it as a fraction as a decimal, getting both of those as decimals, turning your fractions to decimals, keeping your decimal, then comparing the decimals. Or my favorite to do is to compare the percents. So you don't want to compare fractions, because then you're finding equivalent fractions and scale factor and simplifying and all of that. Instead, you want to compare decimals to decimals, because you can look at the place value, or percent to percent, because that looks like a whole.